Space Station 9 was old, loud, and always busy. It floated near the edge of the Tavorian Belt, a dangerous mining zone filled with rare metals and even rarer people. Ships came here for supplies, repairs, and sometimes for trouble. The most popular place on Station 9 wasn't the control center, the docking bays, or even the med-labs. It was the Rusted Fang, a loud, dirty bar where miners, mercenaries, and traders from across the galaxy came to drink, lie, and brag. The lights were dim, the floor was sticky, but no one cared. It was the only place where aliens and humans could sit together and forget the galaxy's problems for a little while. Tonight, the bar was louder than usual. A group of human miners sat at one table, laughing and slamming glasses together. At another table, a few Ixari traders drank glowing blue liquid. Their skin was green and slimy, and their eyes blinked sideways. Near the wall, a quiet Thalnari diplomat watched everyone in silence. His skin was silver like polished steel, and his long fingers tapped the table in a slow rhythm. He had never seen humans drunk before. It was strange. The trouble begins at the center of it all were two human miners, big, loud, and clearly drunk. One was called Mac, tall and wide like a machine. The other was Jonesy, smaller but fast, with a wild grin that never left his face. They were friends. At least they had been 5 minutes ago. Now they were shouting at each other over something stupid. "I told you the shaft was unstable," Mac yelled, slamming his glass on the table. "And I told you I fixed it," Jonesy shouted back, pointing a greasy finger. "You never listen, man," the other miners laughed. A few aliens nearby turned to watch. Mac stood up. Jonesy stood up too. Their chairs scraped across the metal floor. The room went quiet for a moment. The Thalnari diplomat, whose name was Veltrin, leaned forward slightly. His translator chip clicked softly in his ear. "Is this a duel?" he whispered to himself. A fight like no other. Without warning, Mac threw a punch. Jonesy ducked and hit back. His fist caught Mac in the stomach, and the big man stumbled backward, crashing into a table. The bar exploded with noise. Some aliens laughed. Others looked shocked. Fighting wasn't unusual in space bars, but human fights were something different. They didn't follow rules. They didn't stop when someone fell, and they didn't care who was watching. Veltrin's eyes narrowed. He had studied over 200 alien species. Most of them had strict combat rituals. If two members of the Zither species fought, they circled each other 3 times before striking. The Devarians always removed their weapons first. But these humans? They just attacked. The laughter begins to Fexery guards near the door laughed hard. Their furred bodies shook with joy. "Humans are animals," one said. "They fight like wild beasts." A Clor merchant with 4 eyes and 3 arms joined in. "They're all muscle, no brain, no control." Even the bartender, a half-blind droid with a cracked memory core, didn't try to stop them. But Veltrin didn't laugh. He watched closely. He watched how Jonesy rolled after getting thrown, how he used the table to bounce back, how he aimed for soft parts of Mac's body, the throat, the side, behind the knee. This wasn't wild. This was tactical. The shift in the air. Mac lifted a broken chair and swung it like a weapon. Jonesy dodged, grabbed a bottle, smashed it, and pointed the jagged end forward. His stance was low, legs bent, eyes locked on his opponent. Veltrin tilted his head. No training, but perfect movement. He tapped a small device on his wrist. It began recording. This was no longer a simple fight. This was important. Ghosts of War. Veltrin remembered something from old records. Footage from human wars, back before they joined the Galactic Alliance. Humans fought with fire, with knives, with bare hands. They screamed, bled, and kept moving. No surrender. No retreat. Their biology was basic. Their bodies weak compared to many other species. But their will to fight, their adaptability. It was unmatched. Was this just instinct, or something else? More. Then a bar fight back at the center of the bar. Mac had Jonesy in a chokehold. Jonesy gasped, reached behind, and jabbed 2 fingers into Mac's eye. The big man roared and let go. They both fell to the ground, laughing through bloody noses. Jonesy reached out and helped Mac up. "You good?" he said. "Yeah," Mac coughed, holding his ribs. "You hit like a power drill." They hugged like brothers. The crowd clapped. Some cheered. A few tossed credits onto the table. The fight was over. No one was dead. No one was even angry. But something had changed. After the dust settled, Veltron saved the footage and locked it with a code. Then he stood and walked out of the bar. His message to the Galactic Council would be short. Humans are not what we thought. They don't fight for dominance. They fight to survive. And they're getting better every time. Closing image. Back inside the bar, Jonesy raised a glass and shouted, "Next round's on me." Everyone laughed. But outside the bar, Veltron looked out into space through a wide window. He whispered to himself, "If this is how they fight when they're drunk, what happens when they're sober and serious?" Veltron sat alone in his small room on Station 9. The walls were metal gray, plain, and cold. In front of him, a hologram of the bar fight recording played on a loop. Punch, duck, grab, twist, slam. He had watched it 27 times now, and every time he noticed something new. Not just instinct. The first time Veltron saw the fight, he thought the humans were just wild, emotional, untrained. But now, he wasn't so sure. Their moves weren't random. Mac and Jonesy had used cover, angles, and pain points. They reacted fast, changed tactics mid-fight, and didn't rely on strength alone. It wasn't a dance. It wasn't a sport. It was survival. Galactic comparison. Veltron opened a file of combat styles used across the galaxy. He compared the humans' fight to the known techniques. The Ixari used balance and energy flow. The Gorvash relied on brute power. The Thalnari, Veltron's own kind, used elegant defensive counters. All of them followed rules, structure, discipline. Humans followed something else. They had no clean technique, but they won, over and over. Even when they were smaller, slower, or bleeding. Veltron whispered to himself, "They don't fight to impress. They fight to survive." Request to Central. Veltron tapped his comlink. A soft beep answered. Station 9 Intelligence System, respond. The AI's voice was cold. Online, how may I assist? I am sending you visual data. Run a threat analysis on human behavior in uncontrolled combat environments. Received. Processing. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Veltron waited. Finally, the answer came. Warning. Human combat behavior classified as unstable adaptive. High threat. Potential. Recommend deeper observation. Veltron froze. Unstable adaptive? Other eyes watching, at that same moment, on a military satellite orbiting the Tavorian belt. The fight footage appeared again, this time flagged by Galactic Defense AI Command. Normally, they ignored bar fights. But the system had never seen movement patterns like this from low-level species. Unknown tactical improvisation. Origin, human. Possible precursor behavior to asymmetric warfare. An emergency alert was sent to 5 command stations. Alien reactions begin on Station 12. A group of Zarn scientists gathered in front of the footage. They were tall and insect-like. With sharp black eyes, one said, "This is not random, this is the birth of battlefield logic without planning." Another replied, "This is what made humans rise from prey to apex predator on their own planet." A third one leaned in. They didn't evolve for combat. They evolved to survive. And survival teaches the real rules of violence. The laughing stops back on Station 9. The same aliens who laughed before were now silent. The bar was quieter the next night. Mac and Jonesy entered again, arms around each other, laughing and joking as if nothing had happened. They were friends again, but now the aliens at the bar moved out of their way. The chlor merchant who once joked about brainless humans stared at his drink. The Fexery guards who laughed before. One of them said quietly, "That wasn't a fight. That was training." A dangerous curiositival trend stepped into the bar that night, a small scanner hidden in his coat. He watched the humans closely, not just how they moved, but how they read each other, how they sized up threats, even when they were laughing. They calculate risk, he thought, but they do it like they breathe, without thinking. He ordered a drink he didn't need, not because he wanted it, but because he needed to stay close. Final suspense scene hours later, alone in his quarters again. Veltrin stared at his reflection in the mirror. He had once seen his species as superior, advanced, civilized, but after watching one human bar fight, that idea had started to crack. "The humans don't just fight to win," he said softly. "They fight to understand. Every punch, every move, they learn something." He looked out the window into deep space. "What happens," he whispered, "when they learn too much?" The Galactic Council didn't act quickly unless it felt threatened. After Veltrin's report and the AI's warning, the footage of the human bar fight was reviewed by military analysts. What began as a small bar scuffle was now labeled combat behavior anomaly. The Council decided to run a controlled test. If humans were truly dangerous in combat, then the simulations would show it. If not, the issue would be forgotten. Simple. The setup in a secret military facility on Vashtar Prime. A giant battle simulator was prepared. It could recreate any environment: jungle, desert, ice, zero gravity. And it could load fighting styles from hundreds of species. 3 humans were quietly invited to participate. They were told this was just a training exercise for interspecies combat cooperation. They had no idea what was really going on. The fighters, the human team: Mac, heavy build, minor, strong, used to pain; Jonesy, quick, clever, unpredictable; Corporal Vance, ex-soldier, quiet, observant. They didn't know each other well, but they agreed to work as a team. The alien observers thought, this will be over fast. Their opponents would be the best-trained soldiers from different species. A Gorvash enforcer, brute strength; a Thalnari duelist, precision; a Zalith hunter, stealth and speed. All were handpicked. All had beaten every other species in training matches. The aliens expected a clean, easy win. Round 1. Jungle Arena. The first test was set in a dense alien jungle simulation. Mac moved forward, slow and heavy. Jone, Zwei climbed trees, scouting. Corporal Vance stayed low, scanning tracks, planning. The alien fighters attacked first. The Gorvash charged, roaring. Mac didn't run. He sidestepped and used the alien's weight against him, slamming him into a tree. Veltrin, watching from above, whispered, "That wasn't strength. That was timing." Jonesy ambushed the Zalith hunter from above, using noise and smell to bait him into a trap. Vance used dirt and wind to blind the Thalnari, then finished him with a stun round. Time taken, 3 minutes, 12 seconds. Observers were stunned. Round 2. Urban ruins. This time, a ruined city simulation. Sniper towers, crushed metal, shadows everywhere. The humans didn't talk much. They split up without needing to. The aliens switched tactics, this time attacking together, but the humans adjusted. Fast, Vance planted traps. Mac lured the Gorvash into them. Jonesy used debris as cover, moved between the shadows like a ghost. One alien general said, "They're not communicating with words, they're reading the fight." Veltrin replied, "They're learning." Again, time taken, 2 minutes, 18 seconds. Round 3. Zero gravity. This was the final test. The aliens had trained for this for years. Weightless combat required control, balance, precision. The humans had no such training. Still, they adapted. Jonesy flipped and used pushbacks from floating objects. Vance stabilized himself with magnetic grips. Mac, despite his weight, used a broken pipe as a booster. One alien shouted, "They're improvising mid-battle." The humans didn't win with elegance. They won with raw logic, trial and error, and pain tolerance. They figured it out, as they always did. Time taken, 5 minutes, 10 seconds. Council reaction. The observers were silent. The humans had won all 3 simulations, not with high-tech weapons, not with strength or speed, but with unpredictability, team instinct, and the ability to adapt faster than the enemy. One military analyst said, "We gave them no plan, no training, and they still beat us." Another added, "They treat combat like breathing. Every fight is a lesson." A quiet alarm later that night, in a locked room, an emergency meeting was held. The head of Galactic Military Operations said, "We can no longer classify humans as minor threats. They are now marked as Extreme Adaptive Hostiles, Class B." Veltrin listened quietly. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Because deep down, every species present now understood. The bar fight was never just a fight. It was a preview. Final scene. Mac, Jonesy, and Vance left the simulator happy. No one told them they'd just beaten the best fighters in the galaxy. As they walked out, Jonesy said, "That last one was fun. I still got a bruise, though." Mac laughed. "Let's get a drink." They had no idea that entire species were now afraid of them. The Galactic Council's chambers were cold and filled with sharp light. Alien leaders from dozens of species gathered. Holograms floated in the air, showing the simulation results and fight footage. All eyes were on Veltr. Ian. He stood quietly and began to speak. What they had seen. "Humans do not fight like others," Veltrin said calmly. "They do not rely on ritual, honor, or rules. Their fighting is chaotic, but with purpose." A Zarn scientist raised a claw. "Chaos with purpose? Explain." Veltrin showed the data. "Humans fight with something we cannot easily measure. It is not skill alone. Not strength, it is instinct." Instinct, not training. An Elder Thelnary commander nodded. "Our warriors train for years to perfect form. But humans, they appear to learn through experience." Veltrin continued, "When a human fights, they make mistakes, but those mistakes teach them. Their bodies remember pain and adapt." The chamber was silent. The nature of their DNA. The Council's chief scientist projected a DNA model. "Human DNA is broken by our standards," she said. "It is messy, unpredictable, and prone to errors. But that brokenness allows chaos." Inside their cells, a Gorvash leader growled, "Chaos? That sounds dangerous." The scientist smiled. "It is. It makes humans resilient. They survive wounds, disease, and harsh environments that would kill others. Learning to survive," Veltrin added. "This chaos in their biology feeds their instinct to survive at all costs." A young alien diplomat whispered, "They are not just fighters. They are living, learning weapons." The crowd murmured. Fear begins. To grow a hologram showed images of human war cities burned, enemies crushed, soldiers falling but rising again. A Clor merchant said quietly, "They are unpredictable. They learn from pain faster than any species we know." The council began to realize the humans' chaotic DNA gave them an edge no one had expected. The warning, Veltrin concluded, "Do not underestimate humans. They may seem broken, but their brokenness is their strength. They adapt, survive, and most of all they learn." The room darkened. A red light flashed on the Council's control panel. Threat level increased. Human species, extreme adaptive. Hostiles. Closing scene. Far away, on Station 9, Mac and Jonesy were unaware of the galaxy's fear. They drank and joked, laughing about the bar fight that started it all. But somewhere, in the shadows of deep space, aliens were preparing. The true human instinct was only just awakening. A spark in the dark. It started with one upload. A junior technician on Station 9 thought it was funny. A drunken bar fight between two humans. He shared the footage on the Galnet, the galaxy's public network. No sound, just fists. Tables breaking. Humans getting up. Again and again. It should have faded like the millions of other clips uploaded every day, but it didn't. The view count explodes within hours. The video had 10 million views. Within days to 500 million. Aliens across dozens of worlds watch the humans throw punches, laugh, bleed, and shake hands afterward. Some laughed, some were confused, but others grew silent. The reactions in a cafe on Zorvik 3. A young alien warrior watched the clip 5 times in a row. He wasn't laughing. They take hits like it's nothing. He said to his trainer. His trainer replied, "They look stupid." Until you realize they're watching each other, learning as they fight. In military academies on the icy moon Threxel, cadets in the elite military academy paused their drills to watch the footage. Their instructor frowned. "These are miners, not soldiers," he said. "But watch how fast they adapt. Watch the eyes, the footwork. The body shifts." One cadet whispered, "Sir, if this is how they fight drunk, what are they like in war?" The instructor didn't answer. The council's concern back in the Galactic Council chambers. High-level advisors were panicking. They didn't want the video to spread, but it was too late. The bar fight had become a symbol, not just of violence, but of something deeper. Survival, evolution, human chaos. A young alien's realization in a quiet mining colony, far from the council. A teenage alien named Troilik watched the video over and over. At first, he laughed. Then, he noticed something strange. Mac was losing at the start. Then he began blocking smarter, dodging tighter, breathing differently. Jonesy too. At the end of the fight, he wasn't just reacting, he was predicting. Trlik whispered, "They're not fighting, they're learning how to win." A dangerous thought. Relic searched more human fight clips, underground matches, war footage, riot cams. And every time, it was the same. Pain didn't stop them. It made them smarter, more dangerous. Internal report, biohazard level instinct and emergency document, was shared between council military labs. Observed behavior, pain-triggered neural learning in humans. Result, increased reflexes, smarter tactical decisions. Risk, high. Classification, combat evolution in real time. The bottom of the document was marked in red. Do not engage humans in open combat unless full superiority is confirmed. Closing. Seen in a small bar, deep in a quiet system. Another fight broke out. 2 young alien mercs tried to copy the humans. They hit each other, rolled, tried to laugh, but one cracked a bone and screamed. The other panicked. Everyone stared. Then one customer muttered, "You can't fake being human." The quiet before the chaos on a mining colony called Relin 4. Life was tough. The air was dusty, the work never stopped. And the only break miners got was during power resets. Humans had worked there for years side by side with alien workers. And a few hired mercenaries to keep the peace. But the peace was always thin. And one day, it finally broke. The spark. It started small. A human miner named Kelly found that his oxygen rations had been stolen. He shouted at the supply guard, and Chloe found that his oxygen rations had been stolen. Alien from the tall-horned species known as Rovaks. "Give it back," Kelly growled. The Rovak laughed. "Try to take it, little human." Kelly didn't laugh. He swung first. Full fight erupts. The punch landed. The Rovak fell, but other mercenaries nearby pulled out stun rods. Alarms blared. More humans rushed in from the mine tunnels, tools in hand. Eyes hard. What had started as one punch became a full brawl between alien mercenaries and human workers. No rules, no warnings, just survival. The observers panic on a nearby command ship. Council officers watched live security footage. "What is happening?" one shouted. "They're fighting without weapons. They're using pipes, crates, chains, fists, anything they can grab." The room filled with panic. The aliens were trained. The humans were not. But the humans were winning. Unstoppable momentum. One human was hit 3 times in the leg, but kept limping forward. Another was thrown down the stairs, but crawled back up and tackled 2 guards. A female worker wrapped a chain around a Rovak's neck and swung him into a wall. No one spoke. Even the aliens started retreating. "They don't break." On the floor, one alien mercenary, bleeding, whispered into his cum, "We need backup. They don't stop. They don't break. They get worse." Council command watched in disbelief. Veltrin's prediction comes true far away. Veltrin received a private message. He opened it and saw the footage. Humans covered in dirt and blood, but still moving, still fighting, still smiling. He sat back in his chair and whispered, "It wasn't just a bar fight. It was a warning. And now they've seen the real thing." Closing scene. The fight ended hours later. Half the mercenary team was injured. Most alien guards had fled. Only the humans remained bruised, bloodied, but standing. One young human, covered in cuts, turned to the nearest camera and said, "We told you not to push us." A message no one could ignore. The footage from Relin 4 reached the Galactic Defense Council in less than 6 hours. There was no music, no special effects, just raw, unfiltered video of humans fighting with bloodied hands, broken tools, and a look in their eyes that even the AI monitors flagged as combat-focused aggression. No training, no orders, but they won. Again. Council in crisis. In the high-security war room on Greelix Station, council members shouted over each other. They were outnumbered. They used chains and crates, not weapons. No alien species would have lasted 5 minutes under that pressure, yet they dominated. Veltrin stood in the corner, silent, watching. He had already known this day would come. The military rewrite. That night, the council ordered an emergency rewrite of the Galactic Combat Doctrine, a document that hadn't been changed in 300 years. The key updates: species, human new threat classification, Tier 1 adaptive hostile combat behavior, erratic, improvised, escalating under stress engagement orders, avoid direct conflict without superior force advantage. Of Veltrin, read the final page. If humans are provoked, expect them to escalate beyond logic, weaponry, and fear. Expect them to win. Psychological warfare across military academies. Instructors changed their tone. Do not judge humans by size or tools, one alien general warned her students. Their true weapon is adaptation under fire. Another added, you don't fight a human to defeat them, you fight them to survive them. A dangerous inspiration on some war-torn worlds. Alien rebels began studying human footage. One young insurgent said, if they can stand against elite mercs with bare hands, maybe we can too. Human defiance had become a symbol, and that terrified the council even more. Veltrin's final report. Veltrin filed one last report before stepping down from his advisory post. This all started with a bar fight. But what we saw wasn't chaos. It was human nature under pressure. And now the entire galaxy knows it. He didn't smile. He didn't feel proud. He felt something else. Closing scene on a hidden moon. Far from cameras and cities, a special team of alien strategists gathered in a bunker. They reviewed simulation after simulation. And they kept losing to human patterns. One whispered, we need a new strategy. Another replied, no, we need a new kind of thinking. Because humans don't play by our rules. Outside, stars burned cold in the dark. Inside, the galaxy had finally changed its rules because of humans. The final briefing, inside a high-security room aboard the Galactic Council's war flagship. The atmosphere was tense. Around the table sat warlords, admirals, strategists, and AI advisors from dozens of species. On the screen before them, the title of the emergency session: Human Combat Behavior, Containment or Cooperation. At the head of the room sat Council Warlord Zelkar, who had fought 1,000 battles across space. He leaned forward. "Someone explain," he growled. "Why are we afraid of a species that uses chairs as weapons?" The diplomat speaks from the back of the room. Veltrin stood. He hadn't spoken for a long time. But now, all eyes turned to him. He pressed a button. The original bar fight video played Mac and Jonesy, wild and bloody, rising from the ground laughing. Then the footage changed: clips from the Relin 4 riot, the simulation tests, the zero-gi combat, and the council doctrine change. Veltrin stepped into the center of the room. He spoke calmly. "You asked why they should be feared. I will show you. What makes them dangerous? Humans don't always win because they're strong. They don't win because they're smarter. They win because they refuse to lose. They bleed but keep moving. They break but come back stronger. They lose and somehow turn it into a lesson." Unpredictable by nature. Veltrin tapped again. The screen now showed clips of different alien species in training rooms, practicing with strict discipline. Then it showed humans, wild, chaotic, laughing 1 minute and attacking the next. "They are unpredictable, even to themselves," Veltrin said. "They evolve during the fight. Pain is not a signal to stop, it's a trigger to adapt." The final truth. Veltrin looked around the room. "I've studied every war in galactic history, every battle, every species." He paused. "But never have I seen a species like this." He walked slowly toward the warlord. "You're afraid they'll attack. But what you should fear is this: if you force humans into war, they'll learn how to win it, no matter the cost." The twist: just as the room fell silent, the screen blinked with a live feed. A human miner was now training alien soldiers. Jonesy, covered in scars and dirt, stood in front of a group of alien warriors. He shouted, "Lesson 1, you fall, you get up. You bleed, you keep fighting. You lose, you learn." He grinned. "And if you're lucky, you live long enough to get good at it." Closing narration. As the feed ended, Veltrin said one last thing: "We laughed at them once. Now the galaxy watches them, and someday it may follow them." He turned away. "Because they're not the strongest, not the smartest, just the most human, and that, my friends, is why they should be feared."